Run, MAGA Mike, run. Doesn't it seem that every single day now, MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, is panicking in sheer terror in the halls of the Capitol building, running away from the press who have very basic questions to ask him? Just take yesterday, for example, where MAGA Mike was running away as the press wanted to know his response to Donald Trump calling for the execution via hanging of Democratic lawmakers who put out a video telling the troops not to follow unlawful orders and telling the troops that these Democratic lawmakers have their back. MAGA Mike attacks the Democratic lawmakers and says, well, of course Donald Trump did what he was supposed to do here. Here, just watch what MAGA Mike does. Here, play this clip.
Speaker, how you doing? The president posted that Democrats who urge service members to not follow illegal orders should be punished, it should be seditious, conspiracy, and punishable by death. Give me a response to that.
Look, I know the DOJ and the Pentagon are looking into the legality of all that, but what I can address is what everybody knows. That was wildly inappropriate. It is very dangerous. You have leading members of Congress telling troops to disobey orders. I think that's unprecedented in American history. And as the father of a young man who is, at the Naval Academy, going to be joining the service, I know young soldiers, airmen, sailors, they don't need that kind of nonsense from people in Congress. It is very...
My goodness, y'all, Mike Johnson popped out today like the hall monitor nobody respects, running behind the president the way a middle school sidekick chases the loudest bully on the playground. The man heard a sitting president call Democratic lawmakers punishable by death, and instead of saying, hey, maybe that's not appropriate, he adjusted his little speaker sash and said actually he was just defining seditious conspiracy. Sir, be serious. This wasn't a civics lesson. This wasn't a dictionary reading. This wasn't a thoughtful constitutional discussion where everyone is sipping sweet tea and flipping through legal text. This was the president typing threats like he was running a medieval firing squad from his phone, and Mike Johnson's out here acting like the royal librarian confirming the spelling. Then he did what bullies and their backup dancers always do. He pivoted, he pointed fingers, he blamed the victims. According to Johnson, the real problem wasn't the president fantasizing about executing political opponents. No, the real threat came from the Democrats who simply reminded the military to follow their oath and refuse unlawful orders. Imagine defending a grown man threatening death, but scolding veterans for quoting the Constitution. That's the intellectual equivalent of the bully isn't the problem. The trouble is the kids he's punching for breathing too loud. These men run in packs, not because they're strong, but because they know they can't stand alone. They puff their chests and hope nobody notices that without each other, they fold faster than a Dollar General lawn chair. But here's the thing bullies always forget. We outnumber them every time in the halls, in the room, in this country. Bullies rely on two things, fear and silence, and the porch doesn't offer either. We don't whisper, we don't hide, we don't flinch. We shine the truth on them so bright it makes their eyes water. So let them run in packs, let them bark about death like they're starring in an off-brand Shakespeare play nobody asked for. And if this shook you, you go read our latest write-up. A sitting president just called for executions. Read that again. The porch lit the whole thing up. You can read it right now by visiting the link in my bio or going to southernpunk.substack.com, because the porch knows the secret. Bullies fall apart the second the crowd stops being afraid. And baby, the crowd woke up today.
Mike Johnson should be getting a lot more backlash for coming out and saying that parts of the Epstein files should be hidden to protect the government or whatever governments are involved. Why are governments involved in these criminal cases? And if they are involved, that's exactly what the American people want to know. Coming to us and telling us we can't show you what's in this information because it's dangerous. The government is not the parent of the people. The people are the boss of the government. And I think this relationship between the government and the people who elected the government has been ignored or reversed in the same way Trump called one of these journalists insubordinate. She's not insubordinate. It's her job. She's actually his boss. That's her job, is to make those questions. She can't be insubordinate because he's not her boss. Okay, the American president is actually a servant to the people. He is the number one servant. That's his job. And you can decorate the White House in gold or whatever else, but that's what he is. He's a public servant. And I think that these people in government have forgotten that. And if they are hiding information, in the Epstein files, then it means that they are not working for the people. And they've gone rogue. They're a rogue government. Because if 87% of the people have decided they want to see information, then the people need to see that information. The people are in charge. And if the government can withhold something against the majority of the people, if almost everybody, which is incredibly hard to get, though almost everybody can agree that this information needs to come out, and the government withholds it, then it's not our government. It's a rogue government who is ruling us rather than the other way around. The people rule the government. The people elect the government, but they are acting as if they are rulers to the people. And I don't think a lot of people are catching up or giving Mike Johnson enough backlash for those statements. And also protecting elite. He also mentioned protecting elite, protecting the rich and powerful, the innocent rich and powerful, because they might be implicated. That's nonsense. That's also the exact information that people are trying to get. That, let the American people decide. It's national security. He talks about national security. That is national security. National security is who's being blackmailed, is who's controlling the country. And so when he says it's a matter of national security to prevent information, it's the exact opposite. And I think that we need to throw people like this out of our government. I think that the relationship is completely reversed and everything is upside down right now. And all of these people need a reality check.
The Department of Education has now come out with a list of degrees that they are saying will no longer be considered professional. A physical therapist, an occupational therapist, advanced nurse practitioner, nurse practitioners, a physician assistant, teachers, a speech language pathologist, and there's more.
Where are all the nurses for Trump? Where are all the teachers for Trump? Where are all the women for Trump? Because what this is, yes, men do all these jobs, don't get me wrong, but this is a female-dominated sector that they're going after, and nurses, teachers, things like that. And they're going to make it almost impossible for people going forward to receive financial aid to be able to go to school to get into these professions. And they have literally stripped you of your professional degree. They're saying you're not a professional, but you know who is? A priest, a pastor. They didn't touch theology. Where have I seen that before? Where's a theocracy? Oh, is it Handmaid's Tale? Are we going down that path? Are we getting rid of every professional? Who's next? I don't know. They've touched a lot of industries here, but the Department of Education is being dismantled piece by piece by piece from the inside out, just like we said it was, just like Project 2025 said it was. And I bet all those nurses for Trump and teachers for Trump are just applauding this because they have to continue to eat this line of BS so they don't look stupid, so they don't look like they made the wrong choice. But Donald Trump, Linda McMahon, the Department of Education, this entire administration has told you you're not a professional. They've told you that your degree doesn't mean shit, and they're not going to support people who want your degree and want to go into your line of work anymore. And that should be the biggest slap in the face. But so many of you are lining up to take it. Wake up, people.
Are we having fun yet? Trump just called for the death of a bunch of Democratic lawmakers who made a video asking the military not to defy their oath to the Constitution. Yeah. So, that's totes normal, isn't it? He amplified somebody else's call to hang them. Yeah, he did. My tax money is fucking hard-earned. Work my little ass off. And I also work my ass off to be a good person in this country. And I'm really sorry that there weren't enough of us who were paying attention when the bad behavior spread like a frickin' virus through this country. I'm so sorry that people were so conflict avoidant that they watched the behavior degrade and degrade and degrade, and they never stepped in and said a word and stopped it. Okay, did we learn our lesson? Too many of us are conflict avoidant. Too many of us are wussy. Too many of us are deferring to white men, and they don't have our best interest at heart. Every last bit of this has gone down because white men saw themselves slipping from the top spot at the top of the patriarchy, and they freaked out and panicked and called in a lot of favors from a lot of other white men who have built their fortunes off the backs of everybody else. And so here we are, poor white men couldn't cope. And now we're picking up the pieces of our entire nation because they are so pathetic and we are so conflict avoidant that we wouldn't stop them. So it's such a great lesson to be learning over and over and over again. Yeah, now we wait and we see, well, did any of the crazy people hear Trump say that those lawmakers should be put to death? Are they going to act on it? Is that going to be what's going to happen next? Because we've certainly seen a lot of political violence. How many lawmakers have lost their lives? And don't you dare bring up Charlie Kirk. Don't you frickin' dare. The vast majority of political violence happens from the right, not from the left. So use your Google finger again. Yeah, I'm so sorry, MAGAs, that you don't operate with any dignity. I'm so sorry that you are so gullible and so attached to being in a part of the cult that you will repeat anything at all that they say without taking the 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds of your life that it would take to type in a Google search so that you could not come off looking like a total moron. You're not willing to do that. You are not willing to do that. And you know what that tells me? That tells me that you have made up your entire reality based on what you can handle, what you can cope with. And it's not a lot. You don't have a lot of coping skills. You don't have a lot of mechanisms to deal with what's real. So you have decided that because of your lily white skin and because you have a ticket to a cult, you get to act however you like. You get to stomp on whoever you like. You get to humiliate yourself as often as possible because your tribe is still going to think you are the bee's knees. Yeah, in fact, they might think you're nicer if you're an awful person. They might think you're cooler. They might think you're a better friend because you hurt other people. Such a great metric we're using to decide goodness and badness these days. Yeah. I'm so thrilled to see all the ice baby men, the worst of the worst, the people that you remember from high school who you knew were going nowhere, who were so hateful by 17 that you knew something horrible had happened in their lives and you knew they were never going to deal with it. Well, guess what? Now they're 30. And they didn't deal with it, and they're out there rubbing their broken parts in everybody's faces, climbing on top of innocent people, showing our children images that they will never forget. They will never forget. All these traumas. I saw one today of a bunch of ice baby men who burst into a woman's house, knocked her door down. She was in there with 4 children. They were looking for someone who wasn't there. Every one of them should be in prison. Every one of them should be forced to go get some fucking therapy so that they can look at what they've caused in the earth and feel it. Look at what just happened. The dude from Saudi Arabia who bone-sawed a journalist was sitting there at the White House having dinner with all of the richest men in the world. All of the richest men whose companies are supporting every last bit of this degradation of our society. And they were all sitting there because, there's probably going to be a couple more numbers in their status. Yeah, they're probably going to have a higher tally of all that money that they can't feel, that they will never ever notice if it was missing. This is what we're doing. We're letting white men who couldn't compete, white men who couldn't make a way for themselves, be the attack dogs for a bunch of billionaires who are literally playing a video game against each other, watching numbers tick up and tick down, strategizing so that they will tick up more often than they tick down, without any regard to anybody in the entire freaking world. Any of these men could single-handedly save every one of those 600,000 people who died because U.S. aid went away. Those are human lives. Those are just the same as your children, as my children, as anybody's children. Those are human lives, and they're gone. They are gone because selfish white men were worried that they were losing too much power, and they decided the only way to guarantee that they will stay in power is to make everybody so hobbled, so broken, so suffering, that never in a million years could they possibly get their shit together to take down the dude who's causing all of it. That's the whole game, folks. That's it. You know what? I'm really sorry to go off on a lot of things, but this is all connected, and I'm so fucking sick and tired of trying to piece apart little factions of this whole nightmare to make it funny, to make it palatable, to make it something that we can listen to without it destroying us. And today I couldn't do that. Today I couldn't fucking do that. So, every one of you regime, every one of you MAGA morons, every one of you who is responsible for every last bit of this suffering, I fucking hope you have the day you deserve. Yeah.
Who could possibly have predicted that in less than a year into his second presidency, Donald Trump, the 34 times convicted felon, would be threatening to kill his official political opponents because they posted a video reminding armed forces service people that they swore an oath to the Constitution and not to the president? Well, lots of us actually. Millions of innocent Americans actually. Anyone that witnessed January the 6th. Anyone that witnesses the absolute onslaught of bombardment and lunacy that he puts out onto social media every day. Anyone that's seen his criminal record. Millions of people. And yet, unfortunately, he remains the president of the USA. And quite why he does when impeachable offence after impeachable offence are committed is completely unknown and a question that the rest of the world is asking. When we first heard that this was all going down, we knew it was bad and it was going to get worse. And it is bad and it is going to get worse until those in power, the officials within the United States of America, grow a spine and a moral compass and remind themselves of the principles and constitution upon which their nation is built. It is very sad to watch this descent in real time. And the one thought that I have had since the beginning of his presidency through till now, and it remains the same, is, my God, I never thought it would be so easy. I never thought it would be so easy for him to achieve this. In less than a year, we have gone from the United States then to the president threatening death upon his political opponents. It's no surprise, but my God, I never knew it would be this easy.
Well, my friends, they are going to doctor or withhold the Epstein files. They're not just going to give us the files. They're desperate, and someone might be able to save Trump. That person is Attorney General Pam Bondi. It might include Kash Patel. And I hate that it was so predictable. I hate that we know these people so well that we know they've got something up their sleeves. And Pam Bondi spoke at the Department of Justice, flanked by FBI Director Kash Patel, and she gives away the game. First red flag, she's a little cagey. She's just, not exactly forthcoming with information. And she refuses to answer multiple questions about what are the next steps for releasing the files. Exactly. Remember, the DOJ has 30 days to do it. They might do it quickly. They might not. Trump doesn't even need this process. Trump could just say, give me the files. I'm releasing the files. What are they going to do? Well, Pam Bondi is being a little bit cagey.
On the Epstein files, does the new investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always...
They're going to continue maximum transparency? There hasn't been any transparency that they started.
Encourage all victims to come forward.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Glitch.
Yeah. When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law passed both chambers.
You get it. They're going to follow the law, which they haven't been doing, and they're going to continue maximum transparency, which they haven't been providing.
Hi, I am calling with a very urgent message today. I am wondering if anyone, specifically the congressman, knows what the Reichstag in Berlin is and its significance. Okay, let me fill you in because as a background, I studied political science. I also dual minored in U.S. and European history, and the historical significance of what the president is doing right now cannot be understated. There is a poignant memorial at the Reichstag in Berlin that's dedicated to the 96 members of the German Congress that spoke out against Hitler but failed to stop him in 1933. They were the last stand. They were his first victims. Each slab at that memorial represents one of the politicians with his name, political party, and the date, location of their death, which was generally a concentration camp. Now, in case nobody in your office has seen it this morning, 3 tweets that I have seen. There could be more. Donald J. Trump, this is really bad and dangerous for our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up. The next one, it's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set. Even more concerning, seditious behavior punishable by death. He then went on to retweet, hang them, George Washington would. I am wondering at what point this stops becoming a game for Mr. Langworthy, because I have called since the beginning of this mess. I have called and I have warned of the historical parallels to Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler since the day he was inaugurated. I continuously get propaganda letters after propaganda letters like the good little swallower that Nick Langworthy is. And I am wondering at what point it stops becoming a game. At what point is Nick Langworthy going to get up off of his sycophantic knees and stand up to the President of the United States, who is clearly unhinged and unwell, because he is calling for the summary execution of Democratic elected officials? At what point can we expect Nick Langworthy to do the job that he was elected to do? Because as I have asked every single time I have called, if his true oath is to the Constitution as his oath stated, he would not be allowing any of this to stand. So I am wondering when we can expect Nick Langworthy to do the job that he was elected to do, because at this point, this is the 25th Amendment. These are high crimes and treason. And if Nick Langworthy does not stand up to it, he is also a traitor.
All right, ma'am, I will absolutely pass that message along. Is there anything else I can share with the congressman for you at this moment?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, well, thank you so much for calling, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
I fear we all fell for it again. 24 hours ago, we were talking about the Epstein files. Everyone was talking about it. People who were liberal, people who were conservative, people who didn't pay much attention to politics at all. We're all over this app wondering what the next steps were going to be now that Trump has signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law. This morning, Donald Trump takes to the internet and posts on Truth Social a bunch of inflammatory, hateful rhetoric. What are we talking about now? If you said we're no longer talking about the Epstein files, but rather are talking about the language that Trump used, essentially alluding to the fact that all Democratic lawmakers should be executed, you would be correct. We got played by the sociopathic narcissist once again. Is it problematic? 100%. No president should ever be calling for the execution of his own citizens as well as colleagues in Washington, no matter how much he disagrees with them. However, again, I will say, I fear we were played by the sociopathic narcissist once again. And there's a lot of rumors going around, especially in TikTok land and other social media platforms, talking about how they feel that the Republicans are gearing up to remove Donald Trump. And I have to tell you exactly what is happening, because it's not that. Even if this Congress had enough Republicans for a 2/3 majority vote to remove the President of the United States, they would not do it. And the reason why is because of things like January 6, 2021. Whether we want to face the music or not, we know that at least 20% of the United States is still made up of people who are the MAGA diehards, the cultists, the people that could see certain acts on a video and still want to support this president. If they removed Donald Trump, the Republican Party, which is already struggling, as we saw in recent elections, is going to crumble upon itself and completely burn out. You would have those for Donald Trump, those against Donald Trump, and there would be such infighting that they would lose any and all stability that they still have. Donald Trump's rage is not about a potential removal. It is not about Congress. What it is about is twofold. Number one, he was backed into a corner with the Epstein files. He knew he had to sign the Epstein Files Transparency Act because that was the only option for him. And now he is facing having to deal with those consequences. Either A, releasing a scrubbed version, which, you know, if only Democrats are named, hello, we know what we're getting. Or the other option is number two, have Pam Bondi draw out the process forever in a day. The second part of the rage is that Donald Trump is dying and his time is running out, and he knows it. You cannot look at him and tell me he is well and healthy. He's been in and out of the hospital. He's got that bruising on his hand where he's clearly receiving IV treatments. And on top of all of this, it has been reported that he is yelling and screaming and not sleeping while in the White House. That is not good for someone of that age in that physical condition. So the reality is he understands that his time is limited here. And his whole purpose of the second term, other than to not go to jail, is to take revenge on the American people for firing him in 2020. Part of the reason he is so angry is he knows that his time on this earth is running out. And so he is going to kick and scream till his last breath, trying to destroy this nation. It's as simple as that.